I'm Shaun Tan here in my studio in Melbourne, Australia, sending greetings to unmet friends in Argentina, and hope you're having a wonderful roundtable discussion on all things graphic narrative. And thanks for reading my work and for asking me to answer your very good question about what is the secret to graphic narrative. And I had to really stop and think about that question rather than, give a very glib or expert answer, because I guess I'm trying to figure that out myself all the time. The first thing I guess I would say is that there are no real secrets, and what I love about graphic narrative in all its forms, whether it's comics or picture books or just paintings on a wall in a gallery, is that all the secrets are there to see. In that sense, the hand of the artist can't lie. Every mark is there. You can see how it's been made. You can break it down and analyze it. And certainly in my career, I think I'm largely self-taught as an illustrator, but in saying that, I've been taught by many others through, an excellent diverse range of material by, all sorts of creators from different countries and different backgrounds. And it's a really wonderful field to be practicing in, especially because it opens up this kind of international language and discussion. This being an example, that someone from Argentina can ask me a question about the same books that we're reading here in Australia. The second thing I'd say, if I was trying to condense this down into a simple answer to your question, is I would say the secret of graphic narrative is to embrace silence. And certainly that's the case in most of my more sustained work, such as, The Arrival. I mean, it's probably the best example of mine that comes to mind when I think about graphic narrative and what it is, because I really struggled with that book and I had to learn a lot in order to create that particular book. And the main thing I learned from looking at lots of comics and film and other kinds of storytelling that primarily uses pictures is to accept the silence of the medium to the point where I removed words completely, and also allowed the reader, the viewer, to fill in that space, and often to ask the reader to become a writer. So when I was a younger artist, I used to think that the work of the writer and the illustrator was to come up with an idea or some good view about the world and then sort of express that, tell others about it. And now that I'm a bit older, approaching 50, I really think that a good book or story is one where you're giving as much power as possible to the reader. So I have ideas about what my stories are about, what characters are saying and thinking and what's going on, but I try to remove all of that from my images and keep them as silent as possible, and accept that the reader is almost like the director for my screenplay, and I'm just producing a visual screenplay, or even a stage set. Like, here's the stage, here's some props, here's some characters, now you tell the story. And I think that's work, and that's maybe one reason that readers have embraced what I do, is whether they realize it or not, they are the primary creators when they pick up one of my books. I'm just sort of giving them some interesting questions and tools and strange situations that they have to unravel in their own imagination. So you'll find a lot of artists talk about the same thing, a lot of writers. They talk about gaps, pauses, silent spaces, the missing moments in between panels on a comic. And these are the things that are really important in graphic narrative, is showing almost as little as possible. It can be quite elaborate, lots of detail, lots of colour, but in terms of the story, leaving the space for a person with a completely different life experience and imagination to tell their own story, which may be quite different from your own interpretation. And when I produce a book, I write and draw everything I can think of, and then a lot of the process creatively is about stripping everything down. So removing a lot of stuff, like a sculptor. Take away anything that doesn't look like an elephant and you'll end up with an elephant. But as a graphic narrative creator, going even further, and I'll even take away the elephant and just leave maybe an elephant skull and then leave it to the reader to sort of think about what that could be. And but I mean, basically I would say that for me it's a very intuitive process that involves a lot of trial and error. The final book kind of looks like I know what I'm doing, but in the actual process at the table here, I'm drawing something, writing something, seeing if it works, doesn't work, try again, try a combination of different things, cut this out, join that to something else, and as with most things in life, just testing ideas again and again until you find something that works. But yeah, I hope that answers your question and offers some insight, and thanks for the opportunity of speaking to you across the miles and across oceans. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful discussion. I wish I could be there in person. Maybe one day I will be with my family, so that would be nice. In the meantime, take care, best wishes, and thank you for reading. Bye.